hand-holding under tables, the passing of love letters, and the illicit kissing. All reasons why Lexi took up reading romance novels in her junior year. Most of her experience with boys had been in the gym or the classroom, and she wanted to be ready if the legends turned out to be true. "Sure, I'm looking forward to it. I haven't seen Uncle Z in 6 months, and I always enjoy practicing my Italian with Lady Twyla." Abandoning her ebook, Lexi took a moment to stare at the Nova Scotia landscape, passing by at a leisurely pace. She was blessed to live in one of the most beautiful places on earth, with the rocky seaside, the marshland, and the trees whose fall colors always tried to get a head start on everything else. Lexi may have been born in the States, but her heart stayed here. Would her brother have her favorite mare saddled and ready for a jaunt across the expanse of their seaside property? Lexi loved to hit the trail when the trees were changing. Maybe Dion would take her down to the beach. Her parents still didn't let her go alone, but that would change soon enough. Lexi had been following a righteous path for much too long. She hadn't even been kissed properly, not like the characters in her books. Apart from dropping the F-bomb, which only happened when she got angry or nervous, Lexi always thought about the consequences of her actions, and whether her parents would approve of them. This birthday would mark the beginning of a new chapter where the character made her own damn choices, the chapter where the story got real. 3. He had not been waiting long beneath a canopy of pines when the limousine arrived at the estate. He had used the respite to admire the home's architecture, noticing the resemblance it bore to the grand residences of his companions. It made perfect sense that the Maxwells would want to mimic the style that most appealed to their dear friends, the ones who spent a great deal of time exploiting the family's sprawling manor. Despite being counted among the circle, he had never been formally invited, although he was not forbidden from taking advantage of the estate and all it had to offer, the stable, the ocean, the waitstaff at his beck and call. He supposed they were afraid of the requests he might make of them and the influence he might wield, especially over their daughter. On the surface, the Maxwells were a family of wealth and power, but he knew better. His thoughts quickly turned to the young woman as her chauffeur opened the door, and he watched her shapely legs emerge from the limousine. As she rose, the sun danced off the shades of red in her hair, reflecting the color of burnished mahogany, polished by a loving hand. He had hoped to catch a glimpse of her eyes, which he heard were bluer than the sea, but her attention was focused elsewhere. Planting her feet firmly onto the pebbled drive, she flung her bag over her shoulder and strode toward the entrance with lithesome grace. The command she held over her body gave him pause, and he entertained the possibility she might pose a challenge to him. He loved challenges. 4. "Hey, brat, you want to saddle up the horses and take them for a spin?" The minute Lexi stepped out of the limo, Dion swung the front door open and yelled at her. He was sporting a new pair of riding jeans and a stiff, collared shirt, making him look like one of those guys who advertised expensive watches in magazines. Her brother had always been a stickler for proper form, which carried into his life as a corporate slave. It probably drove his coworkers crazy. But Lexi wasn't annoyed by his behavior in the least. She was exactly like him in that respect. "I was thinking the same thing on the way here," she said, smiling as she barreled into Dion's arms for a hug. He smelled strongly of aftershave, and his gelled hair stuck to her face. "Give me a minute to change out of my uniform. I only had an hour to make my flight." "No problem. I'll see you at the stable in 10. He took off around the house as Lexi made her way through the door and dropped her bag in the foyer. The intoxicating scents of vanilla and melted Parmesan cheese wafted from the kitchen, and Lexi imagined Chef Pastille and his minions whipping up her favorites, vanilla fudge and artichoke dip. Not in the same dish, of course. Since the protein bar she'd eaten at the airport was still doing its job, she curbed her temptation to detour to the